Hey everyone, I'm librarian Sarah.
I'm librarian Racine, and welcome to ICTBC.
This month we read Mouse by Art Spiegelman, and so hopefully you were able to join us. You are able to join us, and we would love to hear from you and what your thoughts are in the comments, because there is a lot to unpack here. Racine and I were just talking about the style, and I'm excited to talk about this book because, as I think we've mentioned in previous promos and different things, it's the granddaddy of graphic novels. And because it takes that format and applies it to something that's not just a superhero story, right? This is a very real story of Art Spiegelman's father's journey from Poland during World War II in the height of the Holocaust. This first part, there is a second part, so if you want it, if you want to continue the story and see how he makes it to America, which I'm going to be doing, we have that here at the library. But it's the journey from till when he makes it to Auschwitz with his wife, Anya. And the whole story is framed between him and his, between Art and his father. The conversations that they had together his research in putting together the story. So,
it's
a
a tough story.
Yeah.
You know what? We're going to give you a disclaimer that
Thank you.
There's some images that we show that might be
jarring.
Or upsetting. So just be warned that it's got some violent content.
But I think the whole
anyways,
point, right, is because, so what makes this story so interesting is that he tells the story where the Jewish Poles are mice, the regular Poles are pigs, and the Nazis are cats. And so these different groups of people are represented by these different animals, and there's some really violent pictures, but it's with mice. And so there's one particular image that we both thought of that I'm not going to show you because it's pretty.
You know what? I've got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it's like, I think this is good for young adults that are going beyond history and looking for a story. And one of the things that I really liked about this book was his dad.
Oh, I loved his dad.
And did you expect his dad to be... I don't know what I expected. I knew that it was his dad's story.
Well, and his dad's not like the easiest guy to get along with, right? I mean, he wants things a certain way. He has an awful relationship with his new wife. He throws Artie's coat away during dinner.
Throws it away.
He's like, you don't need to be wearing that.
New coat, because Artie's coat is unacceptable.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, but it's stuff like he's counting his pills to put it into the pills. And he wants to climb up on the roof.
Yeah, to fix the drain pipe, even though he can't really
He's
walk very well.
Yeah. And so it was so endearing because it's like it reminded me of my parents. Kind of.
Okay.
It's like he could be anybody's parents.
Yes.
But yet, this is a man who lived through the Holocaust.
And I think the framework that he chose by having it be his conversation with his dad while depicting such a harrowing topic. I mean, his dad went through a lot to get to come to America. And I think it really kind of humanizes the tale. You had that point of view where it was, he's a difficult man to live with, and he depicts the story before
in his youth,
Vladek met Lucia.
Yeah. Dad was a player.
He was a little bit of a player before he met Artie's mom.
This other girl fell in love with him, and it almost jeopardized his relationship with Artie's mom, and. To have that part of it where it's like, that has nothing to do with the Holocaust.
And his dad was even like, don't put this in your book.
Yeah.
So he uses it as the foreword. Like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But it brings it grounds the story a little bit in a, I think so often with Holocaust stories, being someone who did not live through that time in our history, it's easy to be like, oh, well, that's different. That was from long ago, and, it's kind of
wouldn't happen today, or that person
otherworldly,
yeah.
right? Like it's a horror book.
Otherworldly is a good way of putting it.
And by humanizing it, by giving his father this personality, by letting his father's personality shine through in the book, I think it really brings it up to the present. And it's anybody's father, it's anybody's parent who could have gone through this horrific ordeal. So, anybody have thoughts? We'd love for you to chime in the comments. We have your comments right here in front of us so we can read them and tie it into the conversation.
One of the things that I love about this book is the style of art, because he's talking about one thing, and we have a slide.
Hi, Sinead.
Prisoner on the Planet Hell, Prisoner on the Hell Planet.
Yes.
What he did was he's telling this story about his dad's Holocaust experience, and then his dad sees one of his cartoons that he didn't expect his dad to see. And this cartoon is all about his mom's suicide. And he already battles depression. His mom battled depression. So going through that depressive state, and it was interesting because we were talking about how Mouse, it's dark, but it's not as dark as Prisoner on the Hell Planet.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Where it's using pretty much like, I would call these almost like engravings. And we can even show you some of the ones because they're very etched. There's lots of lines to them. It's
exaggerated features.
Yeah. Whereas.
And he goes to his mom's, so he gets out of a mental prison hospital. He was doing
he gets out of a mental
doing some
hospital,
stuff.
And 3 months later, his mom commits suicide.
And so the whole time he portrays himself in a very the stripes of the prison garments from, I don't know, I don't think people still wear stripes in prison. But anyway, he wears it through the whole thing, even at his mother's funeral, showing what this prison that his experience and the impact of his mother has left on him, right?
Right.
Prison of his own making, anyway, it's deep, but it's also very raw, and he...
Can I just say that I had been scared to read this?
I was a little too.
Pretty much. I mean, I've known about it for a long time. This book has been out for 30 years. And honestly, I was scared to read it because it's like, it'll be too much.
Yeah.
And I really wish that I had just
Done it,
took the plunge earlier in life, because it's so beautiful too, at times.
yeah.
And the way his subtlety, one of the things he does, they're in Poland, the regular Polish citizens are depicted as pigs. Well, when Wladek and Anya, the parents, are trying to hide, they've got pig masks on their mouths.
And you can see the little string behind.
You can see the string. I mean, subtleties like that just made this story so rich. And it was beautiful.
Well, tell them about your symbolism theory.
Well, okay.
Racine had a very good point. She didn't think that I was that interested in it, but I was. I was just really excited about everything else in this book. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and this was something that I really liked about this story, is because when I was a kid and people would read stories about the Holocaust, it seemed like it almost glorified the Nazis.
Well,
And so in this book, though, none of the swastikas depicted are really whole.
there's always something in
There's
front of
always
them.
something in front of them that messes them up. I think we even have a picture
Yeah, I think you have an image somewhere.
that says
Oh,
swastika.
let's not look at that one.
And this is when...
I was going to show this one because, he's got it pulled up. But it's the same kind of thing where the wind has made it so that it's not a whole symbol, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's not
part of the symbol. It's not
It's not perfect.
Yeah.
It's not Right.
which
Which is
so subtle,
genius.
so subtle. And
So, I really liked that,
Yeah.
that he did. And bless us, I mean, the poor guy, can you imagine being raised by parents who have lived through that kind of trauma?
I can't imagine
And-
living through that kind of trauma.
Yeah.
It's
And so him writing this book, I think, was a way of healing old wounds.
did seem kind of therapeutic in a way, don't you think? That yes, Kyle, right? It was Racine pointed it out to me, and I was kind of like, you're right. It was this like, whew, because I didn't notice it, but as you say that, like I figured it out. I think you're absolutely right. But yes, I also think that with his father's, their relationship, so even though his dad is super nagging and he throws his coat away and obviously they can't stand each other, there's obviously a very deep connection there, Like he goes and he's like, come on in, I'm going to go pedal for a bit because he wants to make sure that he stays fit and active. And he wants to sit down with them and count his pills while he recounts these horrific stories. And although they're not all bad, we get to hear about how his dad met Anya and the fight with Lucia and the family and how he got his business started and things like that before all of these things came crashing down.
He was a guy who was working as hard as he could
All the
to
time.
make something go, and that was a cool part of this tale.
He married into a wealthy family and could have very easily, like some of his brother-in-laws, according to the story, kind of slid by with his father-in-law's money, and he didn't. He was like, I want to start a business, I want to do these things, I want to support my family, and so he was always very industrious,
Yeah.
even from an early age. So,
Well, and then, I don't know, are we talking about the end too early?
what time is it? Well, it's 12. We were 15 minutes in.
Okay,
Let's go ahead and do it.
because the end,
You're talking about my final.
yeah.
Greg's had an image.
Well, okay, so this is part of 2 books.
Right.
And so
Important to
this
know.
is halfway through the story. And actually, I think if I didn't, I want to go and read the second book, but if I didn't, it would be okay. This would be a story.
Because he makes it through. Like, no spoilers there.
Yeah, that's true.
Whew, he makes it through. And his dad will not allow spoilers, right? Like, he starts telling the story about somebody in their family, and he's like, well, and he didn't make it. So it's like, and they're like, but he did make it. So, his father doesn't leave a lot to the imagination. He pretty much tells it like it is.
Yeah. And so, he finds out that, Artie finds out that his dad has thrown away his mom's diary.
Not just thrown out, burned it.
Well,
So, it was, of course it was sad. He was distraught after she committed
Yeah.
suicide. They talk about that quite a bit. She suffered from postpartum depression. She struggled with depression all her life. And, after experiencing something as horrific as the Holocaust, that doesn't just go away. And so it was something that left a huge hole in his life. And so he got really upset one night and he burned all of the stuff. Yeah, spoiler. Because it's not evidently clear. But at the end of the book, so this is kind of leading up to the very end of the first part of the book. And sorry, I just took over your story. That was rude of me.
no, that's okay. When
I'm like,
we get to the end,
let me talk
Artie
about it.
calls his dad
Yeah,
a murderer.
because he destroyed the diaries.
And I almost think that shows, it's like violence begets violence, hate begets hate, kind of a thing.
Way to come back to me, Greg, while I'm like with my mouth open, considering your words. Like,
I think that's what Spiegelman was trying to show.
Yeah,
And
I think it was
got this morass of all this
so on
pain.
purpose.
Yeah.
He calls his dad a murderer after his dad tells him that he was piled into a giant van and carted off to Auschwitz. You know what I mean? Like, you don't throw that word around lightly.
No.
And I thought it was also interesting, if you go back to the book, the little interlude with the story of his mom, Prisoner of Planet Hell, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
He also calls her a murderer because she murdered him. And I think,
That was a good spot on that.
whew, it's just like, on so many levels, you're just like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Because in a story like this, you do not throw around the word murderer a lot, or lightly.
No.
So it was definitely something that gave me goosebumps at the end of this book.
Yeah, and I mean, really, there's a lot of people have paid homage to this book, and
Worth it.
Art Spiegelman, I mean, you think about the people that he was with, you know, Robert Crumb.
Oh yeah, they had
I mean,
that
he comes
movie about
from
him.
like this era of all these different people, and you know, too, Art Spiegelman. Did you know that he did the Garbage Pail Kids cards?
No, I had no idea.
And I mean, really, if you grew up in the 80s at all, they are disgusting and creepy and
Oh, I was a regular
morbidly hilarious.
Cabbage Patch Kid. Like I
Yeah.
was definitely into the
This
Cabbage
was like
Patches.
the anti-Cabbage
Yeah,
Patch.
and I was like, oh, those
These are
kids.
the Garbage Pail Kids.
They're
Sorry,
alternatives.
Did I say garbage?
What'd you say? Garbage Pail Kids? I think you said Garbage Pail Kids.
Okay.
Anyway, no, I never really got them, but like I've grown to appreciate them as a pop culture reference from, you know,
Oh, okay.
back in the day.
Yeah.
But it, I did
saying
not
it
know
on
that he
hold?
did. No!
That's okay.
Notice that one of our Read ICTs was not choose the book from the year you were born. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. Okay, so I think we're about out of time. If you have more thoughts on this book, please put them in the discussion window, and we will continue that conversation through the comments because this book is fascinating. If you haven't read it, I really hope that you give it a shot. It literally took me about an hour and a half to get through. It's a quick read. The art is beautiful on a simplistic level. I just don't know how to describe it, but
It's
it's pretty mind-blowing. I thought it was brilliant. Okay.
Our
Anything else
next
to say? Anything else to say?
read the book. It's quick and it'll blow your mind. How's that?
Okay, I like it. Good. Okay, let's talk about next month's book. Racine, go.
The Curious Incident of the Dog in Nighttime by Mark Haddon. Oh my gosh, I love this book. It's from 2003. It was phenomenal. It's about this kid. They don't say what he's got. It's some sort of developmental disability. And he finds a dog that has been killed in his neighborhood. And so he sets about to solve the crime. He loves Sherlock Holmes. His book that he writes, they don't start with regular chapter numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They start with prime numbers.
Cute.
Different things like that. And it shows kind of what his thought processes are, what his dad has to go through in raising a child with different abilities. So it's pretty phenomenal. Oh, let's do the ching.
Cheers.
Ching. So we
We-
hope that you join us next month.
We actually have a book set of this. So if you have not read this book yet and would like to read it along with us, you can check out a copy from our book set. We have about 10 copies in reserve. And so either pick it up at the Advanced Learning Library or give us a shout and we will send it to your nearest branch. Does that sound about right? So anyway, that's going to be next month. I don't actually know what date. I don't know. Third Wednesday of the month in September. I actually knew it at one point. I think it's the 18th or the 19th?
19th.
It's the 19th.
Keep tuned.
Keep tuned. We'll put it out there.
All right.
Oh, and thank you, Greg, for reminding me. I almost forgot. Before our next meet here, we are actually going to have an in-person meetup here at the library with our Read ICT group. So we're super psyched about that. We invite you to bring your favorite book or a bag of books, as it were, to swap out, and otherwise it's just going to be a fun social event where we can get together in person, talk about books, talk about what we're reading, talk about what we love.
I went to the last one and it was a blast. So it was like boutique shopping with books.
But also like friends.
Well, yeah, that too.
So anyway, that's going to be on a Sunday, the 16th, at 2 p.m. So we hope to see you there. And Suzanne's going to be joining us for that one as well. And did I forget anything else? Any other announcements?
That's it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next month.
Bye.
Really, the applause.